Good evening and thank you for joining us. A pair of Thunder Bay small businesses are threatening to open their doors soon, regardless of whether or not the province lifts the stay-at-home order. Yesterday, it was announced the current restrictions will remain in place until at least June 2nd, but the owners of a local sewing shop and a hair salon have decided it's time to take things into their own hands. Brianne Foley reports.
Business owners in Thunder Bay are reeling after the Ford government's announcement to extend the stay-at-home order across the province. Many believe a regional approach would have been manageable in Northern Ontario, where case counts are drastically lower than in the South. Katrina O'Neill, owner of Sew Flipping Creations, took to social media last night, declaring she was not going to sit idly by anymore.
In protest to that the Premier decided not to go regional, on May 20th, I plan to open my doors. I don't have any scheduled appointments, but I will be accepting people to, if they want to come into the store, they can.
O'Neill says that people have a misconception that businesses are being well compensated to stay closed, when in actuality, they are not. She also says the constant dangling of the carrot has become extremely frustrating to local business owners, and she's not alone in this opinion.
We cannot survive constantly being told, well, you can open on this day, but then this day comes and you don't get to.
You know, the government's messing with us. Open April 12th, open this day, May 20th, open June 2nd. No, there's no more of that.
Brothers Cosmo and Carmen Manila own Trends Hair Studio, and they say enough is enough. Though they will not open their doors publicly before this current extension is up, they have decided that they will not be closed for one more day after that.
Come June 3rd, if a regional approach isn't decided for Thunder Bay, we are salon owners, we are gonna reopen.
Both are willing to fall on the sword and take whatever consequences come their way. The hope is that local leaders can convey the seriousness to the province and stand up for the small business community by pushing for that regional reopening prior to any fines or reprimand.
The city's pushing a little bit for a regional approach, but we need more. We've supported Thunder Bay by staying closed, keeping this down, and it's time.
I'm hoping that by May 20th, that the leaders in the North have reached out to the Premier and have really pledged our case.
The message from these small business owners is clear. If Ontario does not switch back to the color-coded regional approach, some businesses in Thunder Bay will open their doors again either way. Brianne Foley, TBT News.
Plenty of others are also reacting to the Ford government's announcement yesterday regarding the ongoing stay-at-home order. We spoke to some Thunder Bay residents today to get their thoughts.
We're up north, we're not in Toronto, so it should be adjusted to where we live. And the small businesses should be allowed to open. That's my point of view.
I think like a lot of people, obviously not excited about it. It's been a long time now, people stuck in their homes.
Not happy. Not here anyway.
Yeah.
Southern Ontario, yes. Here, no. Just wait till third wave comes. It will.
Well, I did have some plans for the weekend after, so I guess I'll have to cancel those. So I'm not too happy about that, but it is what it is. Cases are going down, so I guess they got to do what they got to do.
I'm indifferent, actually. Yeah, it doesn't change my life any.
Well, I'd say Ontario is two provinces, the north and the south, so I don't make decisions.
I think, we're just lumped in with the rest of the province. I agree with Teresa that, it would be nice if they could go by region because our numbers are really low now, but we just have to tough it out a bit longer. We want to be safe, and really none of us are safe till we're all safe.
The Thunder Bay District Health Unit is reporting 4 new COVID-19 cases today. 3 come from the Thunder Bay area. The remaining case is in a First Nation community. There's 1 close contact infection. Another is related to travel outside of northwestern Ontario. 2 exposure sources are still unknown at this time. 7 new variant of concern cases have been identified. Those come from cases that had already been reported. That brings the total number of variant cases so far to 68. Overall, there have now been 3,161 total cases in the district. 34 are considered active. That's 2 fewer than on Thursday. There are currently 7 COVID patients at the Regional Health Sciences Center, 2 more than on Wednesday. 2 patients remain in the ICU. The hospital is currently about 74% full. Local public teachers unions are up in arms over comments made by Premier Doug Ford during his Thursday announcement that virtual learning will continue province-wide as part of that extended stay-at-home order. They say Ford was trying to make scapegoats of teachers and the unions with no facts to back his claim. Corey Nordstrom has that story.
We have some docs that are saying yes, but then we have the teachers union that wants to potentially put an injunction against opening the schools.
On Thursday, Premier Doug Ford seemingly blamed teachers unions for the continuation of online learning. Local OSSTF President Rich Seeley admits the unions considered filing a court injunction prior to the lockdown in March when they felt teachers in the Toronto area would be forced into the classroom despite the dangers at the time. But right now, he says that's not even on the table.
It was laughable. Really, it's another example of the premier who really, he's just flat out lies. We are not aware of any injunctions that we have waiting in the wings.
It is horrendous. And to receive the phone calls I have from parents and from students and saying, hey, why are you guys against reopening, and having to explain that, it is really challenging. And so I continue to forward those messages on to the Premier's office.
Both Judge and Seeley believe the Northwest could and should have schools safely reopened by now. With the virtual learning now continuing for at least another 2 weeks, Judge is still holding out hope for the final few weeks of the school year.
I think we can safely reopen. But I've given up on trying to predict what our Premier is going to do.
Seeley agrees that getting back to classes on June 3rd would be welcomed by teachers, students, and parents alike, even if it is so late in the school year.
You could get a good 3 weeks in there, and I would imagine it'd be nice for some of these teachers to see students face to face for the first time, because we started a new quadmester about 3 weeks ago. So right now, the teachers and students have never met face to face in their current classes.
We have kids in tears in classrooms that just want to be back in schools, seeing their friends, seeing their teachers, learning in a format that's more comfortable to them.
Corey Nordstrom, TBT News.
Well, the Premier also says that Ontario can exceed the federal government's target of a 1-dose summer. Doug Ford says he believes a 2-dose summer for most residents is possible. Here's Colin DeMello on whether that can actually happen.
With more than half of Ontario's adult population now partially inoculated, Premier Doug Ford is setting his sights on second shots.
We get the supply, we will work our backs off to have a 2-dose summer instead of a 1-dose summer.
But is that 2-dose summer a pipe dream or a realistic goal? A member of the province's vaccine task force is uncertain.
It's really hard, in all fairness, to look anyone in the eye and tell anyone with any degree of certainty when X number of people will be vaccinated.
Over the next 6 weeks, Ontario is expecting to receive 6.2 million doses of Pfizer alone and has 5.6 million people left to inoculate with the initial shot. Now the government says it'll need millions more to make this a 2-dose summer.
And that would mean another 11 million vaccines on top of the supply we know we're getting up until June, and that's assuming there's no supply disruptions. 11 million more vaccinations to get everyone in Ontario 12 and over, which includes our children as well. 12 and over, 2 doses. We would need 11 million additional vaccines.
In order to do that, the government says it'll try to boost its vaccine output with around-the-clock vaccinations in some cases and more shots in pharmacies. And the province is waiting for the supply to ramp up before shortening the timeline between shots.
I think it's pretty reasonable to suggest that many people will be getting a second dose throughout the summer, and we could shorten the 4 months to a little bit less than 4 months in some people. But again, I find it very difficult to have significant degrees of certainty with that.
In the meantime, the Ford government is being urged to reopen outdoor recreational amenities.
we know that just by being outside, that is such a major risk mitigation where it's vanishingly small of risk of transmission. It's safe and it's going to help things like physical and mental health.
The NDP says it will force a vote inside the Ontario legislature to reopen those spaces.
It's been frustrating, and the lockdowns are having devastating impacts on our mental health and well-being.
Regardless of the results, the government has signaled it will stay the course until June 2nd.
The medical officer of health for the Northwestern Health Unit says she would not have supported a regional reopening or the lifting of any of the COVID restrictions in her area at this time. The NWHU is reporting 7 new cases today and currently has 50 active cases. 9 active cases are in the Dryden Hub, 1 is in Fort Francis, 6 come from Kenora, and 34 are in the Sioux Lookout area. On top of that, there are now 37 active cases being reported by the Lac Seul First Nation. Dr. Kit Young-Hoon was asked about the Ford government's decision to keep the province-wide stay-at-home order in effect for another 2 weeks rather than loosen restrictions here in the Northwest.
These numbers have worsened while the stay-at-home orders have been in place, suggests that they could have been much worse if the stay-at-home orders were not in place. So at this point, it's not. I don't have a clear recommendation on whether they should be lifted at this time. I think I would have a clearer recommendation if case numbers were to be declining over time and that there was a definite trend of improvement over a course of a few weeks.
She says the only way to return to normal is to vaccinate 80 to 90% of the population. To date, more than 37,000 doses have been administered in that area, and about 48% of people 18 and older have gotten the shot. Thunder Bay Police are asking for the public's help to identify a suspect connected to a robbery that took place this afternoon at a Northside credit union. Officers were dispatched to this Bay Credit Union on Cumberland Street just after 1 o'clock following reports of an armed robbery. Information provided to police at the time indicated the male suspect entered the credit union armed with a knife. The man demanded cash before fleeing on foot. As a result of the ongoing investigation, officers have obtained video surveillance footage showing the suspect around the time of the robbery. Anyone with any information on the man in the video is asked to come forward. A Thunder Bay City Councillor is pushing to re-engage with private sector partners who are interested in building some type of indoor turf facility. At-large Councillor Mark Bent says some developers have already reached out with ideas, but city staff currently aren't able to engage with the proposed facility at Chapels Park, stuck in procedural limbo. Bent is asking council to allow staff to begin accepting expressions of interest, allowing the private sector to bring proposals to the table, preferably but not necessarily for a structure at Chapels Park. Bent says he's willing to commit some city money to the project, but nowhere near the $46 million that would be required to build the fully funded city facility that's on the table.
The price is not a small one, and I think the community was reacting to that, given all our priorities. They were just wondering, is this the right price tag for this facility, and can we do it in a different way? And there's been a few unsolicited proposals or groups that have come forward in this time to express their interest. So I'm hoping that we do proceed and at least take these options into account.
Council will vote on Bent's motion on Monday evening. Bent says if it doesn't pass, a municipally funded bubble, which is far less expensive than the current proposal, would be his second choice. Construction will soon begin on Thunder Bay's first roundabout on a city street. It's coming to the intersection of Edward Street and Redwood Avenue. And while there will be a learning curve for all drivers, cyclists, and pedestrians who travel in the area, it will be especially challenging for those with visual impairments. And as CNIB officials explain, a strong education plan will be needed before and after the roundabout opens to the public.
Well, I guess I'm nervous about it.
Kai Kreitz of the local CNIB isn't the only one with concerns about Thunder Bay's newest infrastructure project. It's one thing for a visually impaired person to navigate a small, quiet roundabout at the marina. It's another to venture across one on a major roadway.
The traffic is going in a circle, so it's not you're not hearing your parallel or perpendicular traffic the same way. it's not a lighted intersection where you're more confident that people definitely have to stop for that red light.
There definitely has to be a lot of education.
Edward Ferruzel is the executive director of Kitchener-Waterloo Accessibility, an organization that supports people with physical disabilities in that region, a region that also has dozens of roundabouts.
Our agency has actually worked with our members and taken them to some of the roundabouts to show them how to cross safely.
That's a service that's being strongly considered here as well, as part of a public education campaign that City of Thunder Bay officials are just starting to work on.
We're considering internally doing like a kind of a soft open for the roundabout. So having drivers and pedestrians and anyone else, while it's under a controlled environment, how to drive it, how to walk it, in a more controlled manner so you get used to it, so to speak.
Construction is set to begin later this month, and the roundabout should be ready in October. More details about the education plan will be made available over the summer. Ferruzel says with the proper public engagement to help iron out initial concerns, roundabouts are a good idea.
In the long run, absolutely. Yeah, I think people will get used to them.
Kreitz, however, will need more assurance. Perhaps that will come after resignation.
Roundabouts are going to be a thing, and I don't think any amount of saying like, I'm not comfortable with this situation is going to change that.
Well, Fiona, next weekend is May Long weekend. Until then, this week we have a boring 2-day weekend. So we can look forward to that. But it's been a good end of the work week.
Yeah, it's been a beautiful Friday. We had a low of 4 and a high of 22. Winds kind of moving around a bit. Very calm at times, and then others gusting up to the mid-teens. It was coming in from the east-southeast, then the west-southwest. It was kind of moving around a bit. So we kind of averaged it. But all in all, beautiful day under partly to mostly cloudy skies. The sunshine continues to the west, 20 at this hour in Fort Frances, 21 in Atikokan, into the high teens as you head into Upsala and Dryden. Kenora currently at 20. Further north, though, Red Lake already seeing some thunderstorms popping up. Right now, they've got some light rain. And as that precipitation moves in, you see the temperature take a bit of a hit. They're only at 14 Celsius at this time. 13 in Armstrong, 18, though, in Greenstone. Armstrong also has been seeing a little bit of light rain, but Greenstone's still enjoying the drier conditions despite mostly cloudy skies. Marathon on the North Shore at 11, 20 in Sault Ste. Marie under sunny skies. Now, here in the city of Thunder Bay, it's going to be another mild night, a low of 5 under partly cloudy skies. And as we head into the weekend, well, sky-wise, it's going to be a little bit hit and miss, but the temperatures, well, we seem to be settling quite nicely into seasonal daytime highs. I'll have more details later on in the news hour.
Thanks a lot, Fiona. Well, we have talked a lot about the ongoing restrictions and some of the frustration here. Well, the federal government outlined a reopening roadmap of sorts today. We'll have details on that as your Friday News Hour continues.
This is a roadmap for Canadians. This gives Canadians a vision of what it looks like as we proceed down this vaccination path together.